going on? What's going on? So, this is my first video. If you're here and if you're a man, if you are someone who has a lot of responsibilities, yet you keep pushing through, you keep trying because you care about yourself and you care about your family, yet you find yourself still stuck, then hey, this is for you. Because at the core, right, you are a man who struggles with discipline. And that's okay, because society has taught us that discipline is a byproduct of what you change. Wait, why did I say that? Think of discipline. So discipline is a byproduct of what you naturally become. That is the correct way to view it. Society has taught us to view it as the method to get the results. Now, let me explain that. Essentially, what most people think to get their result, how to do that, is you become disciplined. When in reality, you have to become the man who is disciplined. Discipline is just the result of that. So a lot of times we, as men, we have to sit down and take the time to actually look at ourselves in the mirror and be like, hey man, you have these goals, you have the way, you have these methods, you have these tools. You know, especially with AI right now these days, we have no reason to say there's not enough information. We literally have our phones. AI, I have Cloud on my phone at the palm of my hand right now. There is no way for you, no way for me to say information is a lack. Now, a little bit about me. I've been consistent in the gym for 10 years now. And I started when I was 19. I'm almost 29. And I haven't really missed a workout for more than a week. I've become a bodybuilding.com ambassador in the past. That was one of the biggest companies, supplement companies, and it was really fun. It was a big company that moved the fitness industry, and I was in rooms with some of the biggest names, and it was a really great experience. And here, let me not go on a tangent. I also deadlifted 460 pounds at 155 pounds. I'm actually a little lighter right now, but I'm also leaner, which is perfect. I love where I'm at. And deadlifting that, I won my powerlifting meet. So I'm someone who has tracked calories, have done the groundwork, has built muscle, has lost fat, multiple bulks and cuts, helped clients lose weight, gain muscle. Okay, so in my bodybuilding.com days, and especially the early days, I really adopted this mindset that discipline is something you need to grind through. Okay, and it's actually something else. It's naturally going to come with ease once you do the inner work. Inner work, what does that mean? A lot of us are operating based on limiting beliefs, based on traumas, maybe from our parents, maybe from society, whatever it is. A lot of times it stems right from the childhood. I, for instance, had a performative mindset. So, you know, I'm Vietnamese, and a lot of times parents will really make their kids shoot for the stars, and that's great. I'm going to do that personally to my kids. But the line, it's really hard to shoot for the stars without putting your identity in it. And that's where the line should be drawn. When we put our identity and our worth, especially for Christian men, right? Our identity should be in Christ. If our identity is based on success and achievement, then we're not going to really like that, and it's going to bite us in the butt. And when it comes to fitness, not a lot of men actually have a fitness problem. You can view fitness as a thing, as an entity, okay? It can be anything. It can be your marriage, it can be at work, it can be your relationship with your boss, anything. Maybe it's trying a new skill, maybe it's how you handle stress or a challenge in your life. Whatever it is, X, Y, Z, it only reveals how you operate as a human being. So instead of saying, I'm going to be disciplined to get a result, say, I'm going to become the man who is disciplined, and the results will just follow. So you are not Okay, here we go. Here we go. I did not know I had a time limit, but we are good now. So you're not disciplined because you don't know the limiting beliefs and trauma holding you back. It's not because you don't work hard enough. Your work ethic is not the issue. You're just trying to push through with willpower and using more work ethic to push through. What you need to do is change the way you operate. If you keep trying to push through, even though it served you in the past and gotten you the success that you have, it's not going to serve you this season. If you want to get to the next level, you need to actually see the truth, see how you operate, see how you do things. And a lot of times too, men will have a performative identity. And once you have that, it's just really hard to push through that just by willpower. What the correct way is actually to have a pole energy. And a pole energy is this. You first see reality for what it is. You understand, you accept it, and you don't assign guilt and shame on that. And over time, it's going to break the performative identity. And it's really powerful because then you can actually make mistakes, fail, but not feel like the end of the world is here. It's very powerful stuff. So my name is Kwan. I'm really not the traditional fitness coach. Okay, I work with men on their relationship with themselves so they can actually be the men who are consistent and disciplined. And it's going to be seen the results in the gym and of course outside of the gym where it actually matters. So think of fitness as something that is used for every aspect of life, okay? Instead of putting it in the box, putting it into its own compartment, think about fitness as personal development. You are in the arena of building consistency and discipline and all the traits that you want. And again, I'm going to keep saying this is through identity and inner work, is not through white knuckling your way with just pure willpower. Now, if you want a powerful tool that lets you see what's been holding you back in and out of the gym, comment the word consistent below to get an AI agent. Full disclosure, I have not made it yet, but once the people will once you comment, I'm going to make it with my mentor. And then this agent is actually going to be very powerful because it's going to ask you deep and revealing questions. Questions that you don't really think about, questions that men don't really have time to think about, right? When was the last time that you sit down with yourself and actually just reflected instead of trying to sort of get dopamine hits from doom scrolling or just sort of you know yeah, because a lot of men don't really sit down, do we? But once you make that a habit, it's going to be so powerful. Now, this AI will make you sit down, and that's another thing. So it's going to make you sit down, and then two, it's going to ask you questions that you don't even think about. That way, you can actually break the pattern of trying, being a little bit successful, maybe for a couple months, and then eventually burning out and then feeling worthless. And then maybe months later you try again. Now, we don't want to repeat that cycle because one, it wastes time, two, it wastes energy, and let's be honest, we don't have all the time in the world here. So, this is really what I want you to understand here. The old way, the most common approach to making the gym work is you work harder and you push. Okay, I did that for years and it served me when I had very few responsibilities. I was a college student, eventually a grad student in bioengineering, and I thought I was busy. It felt busy because I didn't realize, tangent, I didn't realize I was studying incorrectly. I was studying how people taught me how to study. That way it didn't work for me. So in a sense, right, that is a good example of fitness and discipline. You're not failing because you are the only reason you're failing is because you're doing it incorrectly. No one has taught you the way. When was the last time someone told you, hey man, the plan, the workout plan, the nutrition plan you have is going to work. Okay. But you need to do some identity work with it, because you're not the man who can actually who can actually hold the plan, who can actually use the plan. Now, in my work, we actually, one, do the identity work, and then two, create plans, create systems specifically in your body, your faith, your family, and your work. And within all arenas of life, you have systems that help each other. And these systems are very designed for your life specifically. They're not generic. They're designed for you, your lifestyle, where you want to go, where you're at now, and they really meet you in the middle instead of just throwing all of this stuff at you, expecting you to, from, I don't know, maybe 30% and jump you all the way to 100%. No, what we want to do is put you on a gradual progression graph. That is the key to success. Now, a little bit about me. I am a man with a wife of almost 5 years now. I work 13-hour shifts. I'm building a business. And throughout all of it, I prioritize God and my family. And every morning, I sit here in this office, just silent, okay? Not on my phone, full focus, meditating, reading the Word of God, hearing Jesus. And I don't have any time cap on that. Sometimes it is for 40 minutes, sometimes an hour, sometimes 2 hours. I don't have a time cap because that's important to me. In the past, I could not say that. In the past, I was this push sort of person, this grind harder kind of guy. And I learned that from a high performance training program. And that program served me well. Okay, I'm not going to bash it. That program served me very well. The owner is an 8-figure entrepreneur now. And I learned a lot from that program. It got me out of undergrad. It got me out of grad school. And it was very beautiful. But now in the season of my life, it's not really serving me. And so I did what was reasonable. I changed method. Now, a lot of men face this decision in the road to change or not to. This fork in the road, they look at it. Few men actually change. They keep doing the same thing. They keep doing the same plan. Specifically, they keep operating under the same patterns and limiting beliefs, expecting a different result. Please don't do that, okay? Now, you're a man who probably has a family. Uh-oh, did I lose connection? No. You probably have a family, a wife, some kids maybe. I don't have any kids yet, but we plan to have a large family, 4 to 6 kids, okay? If you come to your family with the same energy you've been doing with fitness, they're going to feel that. People are very energetically drawn to people, or not. If someone has the energy that they like, they become attracted. If not, they are repelled. And so your wife may be patient with you, but she may be distant. She may be distant. And that's a very painful situation to be in, because I know what it's like to not connect with my wife. Okay. You may have it on paper, but within the household, you don't really have that genuine connection. And when you leave work, when the phones are turned off, you really just have the connections in your life. And yeah, something to think about. So let's see what we got here. Yeah. The natural instinct is to push through the day and the weeks, but that's really the problem. On the surface, it looks very noble, it looks honorable, but that go hard, go getter mentality is not going to do you any good for your situation. Now, I'm not saying that energy can't be used. It can be, and it should be used sometimes. But right, that kind of energy, use it sparingly. We're not designed to operate in that mode all the time, because if we use it most of the time, it's going to drain us. And that's exactly why most men burn out. They think they are weak. They think they just need more discipline. But the thing is, discipline is not the fuel you use for your success. It's just the outcome. It is the exhaust that comes out of the car. The fuel is understanding you and how you operate. It's the identity. It's the inner work. It's asking deep questions, or is using AI to ask you deep questions and then you answering it. Now, a lot of people too, they think it's a scheduling problem. If I just, plan better, if I have this planner, it's going to solve my problem. I talked to a couple guys on Instagram, and that's what they told me. Yeah, I think I got it. I have a new planner. That's not the problem, my friend. Or some Christian men, they will be saying like, "Hey, man, I prayed about it. It's gonna work out." Now, I'm not saying to not pray, but I am saying there is a time and place to take action. And a lot of times too, men just hide behind prayer and sort of say, hey, I'm waiting on God to give me an answer, when in reality, this is a problem you can and should fix by yourself. So, what is the new way? Well, the new way is, again, a pull energy. You first look at the past and you see what happened, okay? You probably are a man who has tried many things. You have a good work ethic, right? You don't give up. So you've hopped on different programs, you found tools, you bought apps, and they just failed you. They didn't work. Now they work in theory, right? Let's say for a workout plan. Scientifically, they work. Scientifically, if you go to the gym, follow these reps and sets, eat this food, eat that food, they're going to work. It's science-based. But not a lot of people ask, why does it work for some people and why doesn't it work for others? That is the big question. Now, let's talk about the situation for a lot of people. They can't stick to the programs because those programs don't address one thing that makes the people who are successful. They don't address the limiting beliefs and trauma. They don't go into your past deep enough to understand, why do you have people-pleasing tendencies? Why can't you say no? Why do you feel like it's hard to maintain a very simple workout plan? That is the deep work that I go through with my clients. Okay. Before you actually see results, you have to understand how you behave. You have to first associate yourself with certain standards. You have to associate yourself with different standards. You have to be willing to confront yourself, because otherwise you're going to remain the same. And these limiting beliefs and trauma is what is causing people to be stuck. Now, on paper, it looks like everyone should be successful if they pay for the same program, right? And spend as much time on the same thing. But the reality is not a lot of people, or that's not the reality. I invested into a mastermind before. I think, let's see, yeah, it was multiple 5 figures. I think I spent 10,000 for the whole thing, and I didn't have the results. I'm not going to blame the coach. I think honestly, it was my responsibility. So I was just not ready for that, and I didn't know. Now, I wish they told me, but at the end of the day, I could have seen that too. And maybe I'm being too hard on myself, but I think, but the point still holds, okay? That program worked for other people. It didn't work for me. I was dealing with a lot of baggage at the time, baggage that I didn't even see myself, baggage that my current mentor is actually pointing out. And a lot of people, we often carry these baggages of just limiting beliefs and people-pleasing tendencies, everything, into workouts, into nutrition plans, and we don't know it. And then when it doesn't work out, we automatically compare ourselves to the successful people, and then we feel bad. Well, what if the inner work is done? What if while you do that, you have systems that actually serve you? That is very powerful. Okay? What if you had systems that that are like workouts that actually work with your schedule, work with you without spending crazy amounts of time in the gym, and a diet that actually lets you eat at restaurants whenever you want or whatever you want. So this is very important, because if you don't see this, you're going to continue to stay stuck and continue to repeat the same cycle again and again and again. You think there is some secret out there that fitness coaches are keeping away from you. But the reality is, no one is keeping anything away. That coach over there you see online, who has a big following, who has many testimonials, who transformed this person to that, helped that person lose weight, helped that person build muscle, that worked for that person. Maybe that person didn't go through what you did when you were 7 years old. Maybe that person didn't have people-pleasing tendencies. Maybe that person is just a little further along his personal development journey. No, I'm not saying that to shame you. I'm just sharing the truth. And all of this is learnable, okay? If you're not as far as you want to be, that's okay. It's just like a skill. You can develop skills and be where you want to be. So let's see where we are here. Yes, this is the key right here. So if you want to be disciplined, you need to focus on yourself more than the program. More. You need to do the inner work. You need to have the systems. That is the only way. And if you have these things in place, and especially have systems that don't make you sacrifice your whole life, you're going to be very, very, very much in a good position to succeed. So I had a client, okay, who came to me to lose weight, and we were going and going and going, and we got some good progress, and then all of a sudden we hit a big, big wall, so to speak. And looking back, it was actually a good sign, because for the first time, my client could actually see what was happening in his world and internally, specifically in his inner world. Excuse me. Now, it wasn't the diet plan that was failing, or it was, it wasn't that. It wasn't him skipping workouts. It wasn't a scheduling problem, a commitment problem. The thing that was very insightful was he can actually see how he behaves as a person, as a man. And this level of self-awareness is very hard to have, okay? But it can be achieved if you train your mind and if you have someone expose the truth to you. So for this client, okay, even though he was living through his patterns, it was so hard for him to say no to other people, friends, family. People were asking him to go hang out. People were asking him at work to do more. His boss wanted him to do more. It was so hard for him to say no. The wins that we saw, the big ones weren't actually in the gym or a number on the scale. The big ones were him saying things like, hey, I said no to my boss. Hey, I said no to my friends, and I did this instead. I went on a walk. I went to the gym. Now, even though that looks very small on the surface, it's actually hinting a very massive change deep, deep, and pointing to my chest, deep down here. And it's the change of a man internally. When a man changes internally, his outer world is going to mirror his internal world. For example, I had a performance identity. I was doing things in a way to get my worth. And that caused me to be very stressed out. I felt behind all the time. Even though I was driven, my drive was stemming from a place of, honestly, as a Christian man, I didn't want that. It's not biblical. So what did I do? I changed my identity. Not very much in a change. Change isn't the right word. I just actually associated myself with the identity God already gave me. And when that happened, I could actually build my business from a place of peace, of fun, of joy, instead of a place of trying to get my worth and almost prove myself, which is very exhausting. Please don't do that in fitness or anywhere else in life. Okay, so this client, he was living in his patterns and traumas, but he could not recognize it. And it's very common for people. Okay, so also if you're watching this, man, please don't feel bad. It's very common for people. So just like me, I operate through my own trauma too. And that's why I personally have a mentor who I paid $12,000 for. And he points out not my faults, but the patterns that I've been using, not to my benefit. I put myself in a box, and he tells me, hey man, is that belief true? Or is it something that you thought it was true and that you formed out of the bad experience with your dad? Then my mind started to change. I started to think and see the bigger picture, the true reality, not the box I put myself in. So the depth of work I do is very, very deep. It's not just giving you training plans, nutrition plans, and accountability, because also accountability too, by the way, is useless if you keep approaching the same situation the same way through your same patterns and traumas. You have to change first, and then is when accountability is useful. And by the way, the client that I mentioned earlier, he actually sent me a message on Facebook. He said, hey man, you really changed my life, and I'm really grateful for you. So this part of the document, the AI I was using to help me form this video asked me, how do you what steps will you take for another person to actually see their own limiting beliefs and change and actually, become the person who is disciplined? And I had to think about that, honestly, because this comes naturally to me. And of course, I've developed it over time too on purpose, but this is what I came up with. Okay, first, you need to learn the skill of self-awareness. If you don't have that, that's okay. And just like anything else, you just develop that over repetition. One of the ways to do this is to actually sit down with yourself, have a pen and paper out, or you can have a notebook like this, right? No phone, no everything, just in a quiet room with no distractions, no family members. Just write down what you have been doing to build muscle or lose fat. List out all of the plans, all of the advice, all of the things that you're doing, reps, sets, everything, okay? From your scheduling to the structure, everything. Then the next step is to write the conditions, or another way to think about it is where you were at in life. Where were you when you made that plan or found that plan? Where were you when you chose to work out on Tuesday instead of Monday? Everything, every detail, you can just brain dump for 5 minutes, set a timer, brain dump, boom, go, okay? And for each phrase or bullet point on your sheet, and what I mean here is this stuff, okay? For each point here, the highlighted, you're going to draw a line, okay? And on the bottom half of the paper or another sheet of paper, you're going to connect it to a condition. And this is what conditions are. Where your head was, where your mindset was, were you motivated, were you tired, were you worn out, what were you feeling, what were you thinking? Try to remember as much as possible. Maybe you were in a season of push and you felt like you needed to push harder, more, longer. Maybe that influenced you to choose 2-hour workouts, working out 5 to 6 times a week instead of 3 to 4, stuff like that. Really, you just need to have the reasonings and how you felt for each of the thing up here, the highlighted right here. Okay, I need to get a sip of my electrolytes. Very, very thirsty. Okay. Okay, where we are. Yeah. It could be a feeling, a headspace. It could be something in the schedule for that week too. Like what happened in that week, what happened around the workouts, what happened around the meals. Did your family call you to go out to eat? Did something happen at work? Were you invited at work to go? Were you invited to go to lunch at work? What, did you run out of food in the fridge? What is it? Okay. And then after you completed that second step, the third step is to do this. Ask yourself why those conditions make it hard or easy for you to do. Ask yourself for each condition that you wrote, why did those conditions make it hard or easy? So let's say you were invited to go out to eat, okay? While you had your meal prep already. Why did that condition make it hard for you to adhere to your plan? Or another way of thinking about it is, why did your coworker asking you to go to lunch hard for you to have the lunch you already prepared? You may find yourself that you have this belief in your head that you can't say no to people. And like my client up here, right? The gentleman who said I changed his life, he was, oh my goodness, okay. He has stories upon stories of people pleasing. Now, thankfully, he's better now. But maybe you find yourself having that same tendency. Okay. And then you ask yourself, why do you have that people-pleasing tendency? Try to track that as deep as possible, okay? Keep asking yourself why until you get to a deep belief. Usually, you can link it back to a past event, and a lot of times too, an event even back to your childhood. And that is where the goal is, my friend, because once you understand this and you can make the link and the connection, you have done a lot of the work already. You have uncovered, you have broken a side of the box that you were living in. Instead of spending and wasting time on spending money on a program that you don't need, when you already have a program that works, you're wasting time and money and effort, and you're working yourself up in frustration, and there's some sense of guilt in you, okay? Instead of going through all of that, just sit down and ask yourself, why do you do what you do? Link it back to the past. Observe yourself just doing that from a third party, okay? Don't attach any guilt to it, because everyone experiences these things, okay? I had a lot, and probably still do, a lot of limiting beliefs and past trauma. But I've done the inner work and have healed a lot from it. Do this instead of trying to get another program. And once you finally make that connection in your past, okay, that event is a defining event, I like to call it. And that event, through that event, you've been operating through this lens for years, not knowing about it. And now you know about it. How powerful is that? It's really powerful. So that's it. So this is a new YouTube channel. I will have one video per week, and it's going to be on content like this. I don't think I'm going to share a lot about fitness and nutrition advice. Again, information is out here. There's no need for that. But if you want to see more content like this, follow me on Instagram or Facebook. This is my name, Kwon Lee. Instagram handle is at the Fit Christian Coach. There we go. Yeah, all right. I'll see you later. Bye.